The National Desk, America's News, now.
Now, Supreme Court secrecy shattered. A leaked document signaling justices are ready to overturn Roe v. Wade.
This is an attack on the court. The leak is absolutely reprehensible.
The National Desk covering every angle from the investigation.
The person who did this, or persons, did a lot of damage to the rule of law of the United States.
To the protests.
Roe v. Wade is going to go. This is what democracy looks like.
And the political fallout.
The elections this November will have consequences because the rights of 100 million women are now on the ballot.
Plus, sky-high prices.
Inflation is much too high.
To combat it, interest rates raised 0.5% for the first time in more than 20 years. Lawmakers say too little, too late.
I think they took way too long to acknowledge the problem.
A look at how the move will impact your bottom line. And midterm elections taking shape. Primary season kicks off with big wins. Former President Trump playing a role in one victory. The matchups coming in November. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. I'm Eugene Ramirez. On this weekend edition, we take a look at the big headlines of the week and to look ahead at what to expect. We're following 4 big stories for you this week. The ongoing investigation into that leak of a draft Supreme Court opinion and the explosive protests that leaked opinion sparked for and against abortion rights. Then we're breaking down how the latest interest rate hike from the Federal Reserve will impact you and your wallet. And former President Trump's political influence put to the test in Ohio, landing a big victory in the primaries. First, Chief Justice John Roberts asking Supreme Court marshals to launch an internal investigation after the leak of a draft opinion from Justice Samuel Alito. The opinion that would overturn Roe v. Wade was obtained and published by Politico. Justice Roberts confirming the authenticity of that document, but says it does not represent the final opinion of the court, which is expected this summer. The Chief Justice called the leak an egregious breach of trust and a betrayal to the Supreme Court. Now, because this document is not classified, its leak doesn't automatically trigger a criminal investigation, but if the document was obtained through a criminal act, then the leaker could be charged. Lawmakers and legal experts say regardless, the leaker should face consequences for jeopardizing the integrity of the High Court.
So the person who did this, or persons, did a lot of damage to the rule of law of the United States.
Whoever did this leak should be prosecuted and should go to jail for a very long time.
Meanwhile, President Biden urging the Senate to codify Roe v. Wade into law. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says Democrats will introduce a new bill in the coming days, saying he wants to get the votes on record. Now, to get it passed would be an uphill battle in the Senate. Right now, Democrats just don't have enough votes to meet the 60-vote threshold that is required to protect abortion rights at the federal level. Meantime, protests breaking out across America, sparked by what that draft opinion states. 8-foot-tall barricades were raised around the Supreme Court building heading into the weekend following pro-life and pro-choice protests this week that at times got a bit heated. A recent Washington Post ABC News poll showing us where the public stands on this issue. The poll finding people believe Roe should be upheld by a roughly 2-to-1 margin. 54% supporting the 1973 decision. Meantime, 28% say it should be overturned. And now to the Federal Reserve announcing its largest rate hike in 22 years. It's an attempt to cool inflation. The Fed this week increasing the rate by 0.5%, which will drive rates higher on everything from credit cards to mortgages and even auto loans. The National Desk's Ryan Smith breaking down the impact on Americans' bottom line.
Just 6 weeks ago, the Fed launching an aggressive campaign to cool record-breaking inflation. Now consumers can expect to dig even deeper into their wallets to pay off those loans. Here's what this means for millions of Americans. Short-term borrowing rates like credit cards will jump even higher. So expect your annual rate to rise within 1 to 2 billing cycles. CNBC now reporting credit card rates are just over 16%, significantly higher than nearly every other consumer loan, and might reach 18.5% by the end of the year, an all-time record high. Creditcards.com reporting if that happens, it will cost you another $885 in interest charges, making minimum payments on the average $5,000 balance.
Some borrowers may find it advantageous, for instance, to take out a home equity loan, which might be at a lower rate, rather than carry high credit card balances. The danger of that, of course, is then they might feel free to go ahead and add up yet more credit card debt.
Right now, Americans owe $865 billion in total credit card debt. Most homeowners won't be immediately impacted by the Fed's interest rate hike. Same goes for borrowers with federal student loans, which carry fixed rates. In Washington, I'm Ryan Smith for the National Desk.
President Biden may have widened the rift between him and former President Donald Trump supporters, calling them extremists. Take a listen.
This MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history, in recent American history.
This week, the president railed against an economic plan from Republican Senator Rick Scott of Florida, calling it part of the, quote, ultra MAGA agenda. Now, despite the president's comments, it appears Trump still has a hold over his base in the GOP. In Ohio on Tuesday, Trump-backed candidate J.D. Vance won the Senate Republican primary. Some now asking whether a Trump bump helped him secure that win, and also how other Trump endorsements will impact upcoming elections. The National Desk's Megan O'Halloran spoke with the University of Dayton political science professor Chris Devine. They break it all down for us.
It certainly helps, and J.D. Vance proves that. J.D. Vance was not in the lead a couple weeks ago before Donald Trump's endorsement. In a close race with many viable candidates, all but one very clearly pro-Trump. This is the kind of thing that set Vance apart. How big of a boost, how many points is hard to say, but it was enough to allow him to win. I'll point out, though, Donald Trump didn't endorse in the Ohio governor's race. He held back because the candidate he probably would have preferred, Jim Renacci, really didn't have a shot. So Trump is strategically picking which candidates to endorse and picking ones who are likely to win.
Well, today, President Biden called the MAGA crowd, quote, the most extreme political group in recent history. What do you make of that statement?
I think Joe Biden is trying to set the tone for the fall campaign. He's not very popular right now. There are some problems in the economy, low unemployment, but very high inflation, other issues. And I think he's trying to focus attention, especially among base Democratic voters, on Donald Trump, and saying this is what you're going to get is not just maybe Donald Trump's not going to be president, but people who support his agenda and even his style of politics may gain power in Congress. He's trying to focus voters' attention on them, hoping that will be enough to help him win again in this race.
Well, major news this week, a leaked Supreme Court opinion draft on Roe versus Wade. Democrats calling this an attack on reproductive rights, while Republicans say this is an attack on the independence of the Supreme Court. Do you think outrage on both sides is enough to move the needle and drive more voters to the polls?
You know, I don't think Republicans have an enthusiasm problem right now. That's very clear, even the turnout in Ohio, where we saw pretty high turnout in Republican primaries, but low in Democratic primaries. If this is going to make a difference, I think it's more among Democratic voters who have shown some signs that they need a reason to mobilize. They need something to galvanize them in their participation in this campaign. So this may be the kind of thing that gets some Democrats to say, you know, we really need to come out and make a difference. Otherwise, who knows what may come next, not just at the federal level, but even at the state level.
Well, 13 states have enacted trigger laws, which would instantly ban abortion if Roe versus Wade is overturned. How fundamental is it for both Democrats and Republicans to switch course on their campaign strategy with the looming possibility of these trigger laws going into effect?
You know, it's going to be a big issue in this campaign, you know, if the court ruling turns out as we expect it to now. But there are many other issues, too. You know, as far as reorienting their entire campaign strategy around, I don't think that would be a good idea. But incorporating more into it, again, especially on the Democratic side, where they need to mobilize voters more, this may be a good idea. But they can't lose sight of bread and butter issues like the economy as well, including inflation and unemployment.
All right, Chris, thanks so much for your time tonight. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks.
President Biden claiming credit for making historical cuts to the federal deficit. Our fact-check team digging into just how much of a role the president played in reducing the national debt. Next. Plus.
So past 2 weeks, we got hit, I think about 12 cars.
Catalytic converter thefts on the rise, the growing threat for businesses across America. You're watching the National Desk, America's News Now. Don't forget you can watch us live weekdays from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern Time, and anytime online at thenationaldesk.com. We're back after this. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. Our team of nearly 4,000 local journalists bringing you the headlines from coast to coast. From the communities in Oklahoma coming together after severe weather rolled through, to the Florida woman who celebrated her 100th birthday by jumping out of a plane. We are taking the pulse of America, and we begin in Columbus, Ohio, where catalytic converter thefts are threatening some local businesses.
I mean, look how fast I'll lay under here.
It's what thieves keep doing.
That's it.
To Igor Gorodyuk's West Side business, sneaking into the lot at his trucking company, snatching up catalytic converters.
So past 2 weeks, we've got hit, I think about 12 cars. That's over probably $20,000 worth of damage.
He also rents out parking spots for trucks, with some of his customers, like Larry McDonald, getting hit as well, putting his job at risk. Larry works for a car transport company and had 7 converters stolen just this last week.
Well, I mean, it's hard enough for us in the truck driving industry to find a place to park in the first place. Never mind to have to worry about the stuff on our vehicle.
So if they come to steal, they have sawzalls. They'll cut through the fence. No matter what, they're not going to stop.
The city has seen these types of thefts rise over the last year.
Whoever accepts all these converters, they need to stop.
Monty Snyder and his wife are looking through what's left of their home, seriously damaged by severe weather.
We'll pick up, I guess, what is salvageable, and we'll throw away the rest of it. Start over.
Forced to start over, even though the couple has lived here for 40 years. Well, what you're looking at was a 2-story storage unit that was lifted out of its foundation and crushed into this home, causing the roof to cave in. Inside were Halloween and Christmas decorations that unfortunately were not the only things that were destroyed in this severe storm. And although several structures were no match against bad weather, the act of kindness in this community proving to be more powerful. As locals come together, some helping to clean up, others dropping off necessities, some stopping to just pause and reflect.
Well, it makes me feel bad for these people that's lost and had damage and stuff, you know, and I feel sorry for them.
Today we are celebrating my 100th birthday. She is going to be skydiving with us. All right! I did my first skydive, and I absolutely loved it. She thought for a minute, and she says, when I turn 100, would you take me? Are you ready?
She sends a birthday card every year and always writes a little message, and she just wrote, I'm going skydiving for my 100th, and I remember being like, oh, okay.
You made it! Happy birthday!
I am Ramon really did this. I can't believe it. 100 years old.
Good for her. Over the last few weeks, President Biden has been taking credit for making historical cuts to the federal deficit. Our fact-check team now with more on just how much of a role the president has had in reducing our nation's debt.
Last month, the president claimed he cut the deficit by $350 billion and now says his proposed budget for this year will cut it even more. I'm here with the fact-check team tonight to break this all down. So, Janae, what are the facts here behind the president's claims?
Well, he's not telling the whole story. So experts say the more than $300 billion deficit cut is largely because of expiring emergency pandemic spending, like unemployment benefits. Now, just for some context, we learned that the government provided over $650 billion in federal pandemic unemployment benefits. That was between March 2020 and September 2021. So when those benefits went away, of course, there was less spending. At one point, the CBO had projected a smaller deficit cut, but the CBO says the government got more tax revenue than expected. That's because of a strong growth and, in part, legislation enacted in response to the pandemic, like Biden's American Rescue Plan that gave out stimulus checks. Now, it's not black and white. The president can't take credit for all of that cut because you have to look at that COVID funding over the last 2 years.
Important context there for sure, Connor. Critics are now calling out the president on these economic claims.
That's right, Ryan. John Huntley, a senior economist at the Penn Wharton budget model, says the president's actions to date have not reduced deficits, but instead increased them. With things like the infrastructure law, the American Rescue Plan, and executive orders, experts estimate at least $2.5 trillion will be added to deficits through 2031. The bottom line is, while Biden's statement is true, the deficit has fallen by some $350 billion. The reality is it could have fallen by much more if the president hadn't signed his spending bills into law.
And still ahead, a migrant surge. As the fate of Title 42 is held up in the courts now, the administration's message on the southern border. The crisis at the southern border appears to be breaking some new records. Preliminary Border Patrol data for April showing nearly 211,000 migrant encounters at the border, meaning this would be the second month in a row with at least 200,000. Right now, border communities are bracing for the end of Title 42, though it does remain in place as the issue works its way through the courts. Meantime, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas telling migrants not to come to the U.S.
Do not come. That was your message to migrants. What's your message now?
The same, the very same, because our border is not open.
Well, the National Desk's Jan Jeffcoat spoke with former Acting Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection and a visiting fellow at FAIR, Mark Morgan, to get his response to Secretary Mayorkas telling Americans that the border is not open.
Yeah, Jan, I would just laugh if this wasn't such a serious issue right now facing the country. But let's keep in mind, we're already in the middle of a catastrophic crisis. Even if Title 42 stands, the lifting of that will just make this catastrophic crisis even worse. Let's talk real quick about his messaging. I think most of us learned in elementary school that your words have to match your actions. And that's just the opposite of this administration. So his words really shows just how out of touch the secretary is. And Jan, I watched your monologue before the commercial. Again, April setting all-time records once again on top of a shattering record of March. And it's not going to stop. As far as the borders being closed, really he shifts from being out of control to being dangerous and downright delusional, to be honest, Jan. I know those are harsh words, but look, under his tenure, we've had over 700,000 illegal aliens break into our country and evade apprehension. That's larger than the entire state of Vermont. And we know there are criminals among them, there are gang members, and it increased our national security vulnerabilities, as well as drugs poured in this country that killed 100,000 Americans in a 12-month period. Our borders are far from being controlled.
And Mark, we have a growing number of Democrats also joining Republicans now in criticizing President Biden. So you've got lawmakers on both sides of the aisle, and they're also criticizing DHS. Even with this plan that DHS has released to try and control the flow at the border, you say it's going to do the exact opposite. How so?
Yeah, Jan, first of all, because our focus should be on border security. When every illegal immigration goes up, our capacity to secure our borders goes down. The two things are interconnected. And this so-called six-pillar plan does nothing to apply consequences to those that are entering the border. It does nothing to secure our border. It does nothing to deter illegal immigration. It does nothing to close the illegal immigration loopholes that the secretary knows exists. And it does absolutely nothing to address the fraudulent claims that are applied every single day. All this plan does is put more resources down to process and release faster. That will do nothing but encourage more. And Jan, I guarantee you that in April, I'll be back on here and we'll be talking about how, according to this plan, the only thing that happened is the flow got worse and our border became less secure.
Mark, what's so interesting is that on Friday, President Biden did speak with Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador about the country's, quote, shared goal to find ways to manage these migration surges. What is Mexico's role in stopping the influx of migrants at the border? And how did this change from different administrations, the administration that you were with previously, the previous administrations, with the cooperation that we used to get from Mexico?
Yeah, Jan, both of those are very good questions. And I'm so frustrated because, look, I agree that with President Biden, is that this is a shared responsibility. This is a regional shared responsibility. The flow of illegal immigration and the damage it does to multiple countries should not just be on the shoulders of America. Look, we have been saying that for years, that this should be a shared responsibility. Through previous administrations, to include during the Trump administration. And this administration now is acting like this is the first time it's ever been mentioned that it's a shared responsibility. Look, and during the Trump administration, we came from a position of strength and leverage. That's why you saw the Migrant Protection Protocol, the Remain in Mexico program be initiated that Mexico fully supported. You saw over 25,000 personnel from Mexico secure their southern border and increase their interior enforcement. You saw unprecedented cooperation with the Northern Triangle countries through signing the asylum and cooperative agreements. This administration on day one got rid of all that and dismantled it. And now their hand got caught in the cookie jar, and now they're scrambling to reinstitute what was already there. It's absolutely disgusting.
Immigration will be a major issue on the ballot this November. And since President Biden took office, Democrats have been pushing for immigration reform. Nothing's been able to come to a consensus. They haven't been able to deliver because of party infighting. Well, recently, Democratic Congressman Chuy Garcia said, quote, ending this Congress without immigration reform will be a big letdown for the immigrant community. We said that if we could win both chambers and have the White House, that would be the alignment. There is great expectation that this is the moment. And if it doesn't happen, it will be a long wait again. How do you see voters responding to the administration's policies this November, especially in minority communities, Mark?
Yeah, I think we look at the polls. And first of all, this is not about immigration reform. We've said that, we've tried that decade after decade. It has failed. First and foremost, this is about border security. You secure our border. And what's of really interest there, what he says, his words matter. What he is more concerned about is letting down the illegal immigrant community rather than letting down American citizens. Every day Americans are dying, and every aspect of our nation's safety and national security are being jeopardized because of our lack of open borders and because we've handed control of those borders over the cartels. The polls show across the board Americans want strong border security. Let's get that first.
And as you said, that's what the deep divide is there in the Democratic Party. Those who are for immigration reform and those who are for border security. Mark Morgan, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
You bet.
New inflation numbers set to drop next week. Coming up, what we expect to hear from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics and a look at inflation rates right now. And what else we can expect next week as Republican lawmakers attempt to stop the border public health policy Title 42 from being lifted. Taking a look ahead to the coming week, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Senate will vote to codify abortion rights into federal law. And a hearing scheduled for the Louisiana judge who ruled to temporarily block Title 42 from being lifted to consider a request by Republican-led states to stop the policy from expiring on May 23rd. Also next week, we're getting a look at April's inflation numbers. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics will release last month's consumer price index. Right now, inflation up 8.5% year over year. Are we headed toward another Biden-Trump showdown? Straight ahead, a look at why some say it's already underway, despite calls for unity. And Ukraine's last holdout in the port city of Mariupol under Russian attack right now. How Ukraine's officials describe the battle and how many civilians managed to escape. That's coming up. You're watching the National Desk, America's News Now. You can watch us live weekdays from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern Time, and also anytime online at thenationaldesk.com. We'll be right back.
The National Desk, America's News Now.
Ramping up for a 2024 rematch, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump taking the gloves off, throwing jabs at each other. The brand new numbers showing who would come out on top in a repeat race for the White House. And Supreme Court shocker, the unprecedented leak from the nation's high court showing justices are poised to overturn Roe v. Wade. The National Desk going one-on-one with a former clerk about the inner workings of the court and who the leaker might have been. And the long-term political fallout of the Roe v. Wade reversal. Our team on Capitol Hill breaking it all down for us straight ahead. This is the National Desk, America's News Now. Hey there, I'm Eugene Ramirez. This week, headlines mounting about a potential 2024 rematch between President Biden and former President Trump. A new poll out Thursday showing Trump would come out on top, landing him right back in the White House. Polling from Rasmussen Reports asked voters who they would choose if the rematch were held today. Well, 50% say they would vote for former President Trump, while only 36% say President Biden. That's a 14-point gap. Now, on top of that, 61% of respondents say they do not want President Biden to run for re-election. The former president and his successor already clashing after Biden lashed out against Trump's followers. The National Desk's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman reports.
That Supreme Court leak exposed more than just the court's inclinations. It also shone light on America's growing divide, especially in politics.
What are the next things that are going to be attacked? Because this MAGA crowd is really the most extreme political organization that's existed in American history, in recent American history.
Reminiscent of Hillary Clinton's deplorables comment.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic.
And on the other side, Trump continues his fear-mongering.
We will not let radical left lunatics or rhinos who are unwilling to fight because they're weak and they're very stupid take away from us what has been so brilliantly built.
Biden facing low approval ratings, pivoting to attacks on Trump and the GOP. And despite his earlier promises to unite, nearly half of Americans say the country's become more divided since he took office. Just 15% say it's more united and 35% unchanged. And throughout most of Trump's term in office, about 2/3 felt the country had become more divided.
The exhausted majority is real. There is a large majority in the country that is just exhausted by the tenor, the tone, and the vitriol that are a part of our everyday politics.
Optimism of that changing, waning the closer America gets to Election Day. Politico reporting a rematch is likely, especially if one makes it official, then the other would too, calling it a game of political chicken. Biden supposedly telling his people he's the only one who can beat Trump. A rematch that, were it to happen, many believe would only add to the country's already damaging division. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
And now to the war in Ukraine. Russian troops breached a steel plant in Mariupol in the middle of the UN's evacuation of civilians who had been trapped there for weeks. One Ukrainian commander describing the port city's final battle in the steel mill as a fierce, bloody combat. The UN was able, though, to evacuate nearly 500 people before the fighting broke out. Meanwhile, in an attempt to help Ukraine, the U.S. has put a strain on our country's own weapons stockpile. The AP reports the U.S. provided about 1/3 of its Javelin stockpile to Ukrainian forces so far, and analysts estimate the U.S. has sent about 1/4 of its Stinger missiles. This week, a Supreme Court shocker. An investigation now underway after an unprecedented leak of a draft opinion revealed justices could soon overturn Roe v. Wade. Disclosure of the draft opinion doesn't automatically trigger a criminal investigation since draft documents are not classified documents. But if that document was obtained by committing a crime, then the leaker could be charged. So just how much of a breach was this, and can the High Court regain its integrity? The National Desk's Megan O'Halloran caught up with Dhruv Vignaraja, a former clerk under Justice Breyer, who's now running for state attorney in Baltimore. She asked him about the inner workings of the court and the chances the leaker could have been a law clerk.
I mean, this is awful and shameless if that's what happened. The trust between justices and their law clerks is sacrosanct. It was something that you could take for granted. The notion that somebody, whatever reason, whatever their motivation, whatever their excuse, would do something like that is frankly unthinkable, and it is maybe a measure of how bad things have gotten in this country, the level of politicization, that somebody would think that this is what you have to do to try to make some noise. It's really an unfortunate development, and it's going to take a long time for the institution to rebuild after this.
Well, this is the first leak of a preliminary opinion in the history of the court. The court tracking Twitter account at SCOTUS blog, they tweeted this out. We're going to put it up on the screen here. They said, it's impossible to overstate the earthquake this will cause inside the court in terms of the destruction of trust among the justices and staff. This leak is the gravest, most unforgivable sin. Now, back when you were a clerk, could you imagine something like this ever happening?
It wouldn't have even crossed our mind to think that something like that would happen. These are, top flight lawyers from top flight law schools who the justices have hired because they can be trusted. The notion is, and when I was a law clerk there, that you might disagree with another law clerk, with another Supreme Court justice, but you resolve those disputes, those debates within the rules of the court. The idea that you would do something extracurricular like this just wouldn't even cross our minds.
Wow. Well, an investigation obviously underway to determine how that document got out. Do you think they'll be able to nail down the leaker?
I think that is a very hard question, knowing as little as we do to speculate about. The reality is that the Supreme Court is supposed to be the one institution that's separate from the politics, the ordinary politics of the day. This has dragged the Supreme Court into the culture wars at a time when the nation can least afford it. We need a Supreme Court to be an independent tribunal that we can all trust. The notion that it's just an extension of the executive branch, that people would do this kind of thing within the walls of the Supreme Court, it really hurts the institution for the long term and certainly in the short term.
Well, we know at least two people know, right? The leaker and the journalist source. I mean, how many people do you think really know? And is this something that is going to get out somehow, whether it's after a few cocktails at happy hour? I mean, this is just too juicy for two people. I mean, don't you think this is going to get out somehow?
History tells us that over the course of decades, these stories do break. But there are, stories, the Pentagon Papers, there's instances where people take these kind of secrets to their grave. And frankly, it's understandable because this is kind of the most awful, most serious breach of trust between a law clerk and a justice that you can imagine. If this law clerk actually did it, if a law clerk actually did it, the notion that they would have any future in the law is almost impossible to fathom. This is unfortunate on so many levels. What we thought we could take for granted, from women's rights to what the Supreme Court represents, is no longer something we can take for granted.
Well, if they do track back the leaker, what do you think the consequences should be? And do you think the Supreme Court will change its practices because of this leak moving forward?
I've got to believe that the Supreme Court would assume that this was a rare aberration by someone who, was acting beyond the pale. I don't think you change the rules because once in history somebody does something that's unthinkable, but I think everybody's going to be a little bit more careful. I think the justices are going to be more careful. I think the law clerks are going to be expected to be more careful. I don't think you're going to see a change of rules, but I do think it's going to infect the water in a way that's going to take some time to filter out.
All right, Drew, thank you so much for your inside perspective there.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Interesting interview there. Now, the Postal Service has had its share of economic struggles, especially during the pandemic, and our fact check team joins us now looking into how the USPS is financed.
The Postal Service is one of our nation's largest employers and serves millions of homes and businesses. But according to USPS itself, the service estimates it will have $160 billion in losses over the next 10 years. The Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy, citing this is a major factor behind their decision to buy more gas trucks, saying they just can't afford it. I'm back tonight with our fact check team to break this down. Connor, why exactly is the post office continuing to struggle financially?
Well, there's a few reasons, and it's been struggling for a while. But let's break this down. We need to look at how the post office is financed. It's called an independent agency, and it's under the executive branch, but the president's authority over the post office is limited. He can't appoint or dismiss leaders, and most notably, it receives zero money from taxpayers.
So where do they get their money?
Well, they get most of their money from proceeds from stamps and other service fees, and that pays for their yearly costs for now. However, the Government Accountability Office says rising compensation and benefits is growing faster than revenues. And when you add in pensions and health care, we found that the service has lost more than $87 billion in the past 14 years.
And Janae, what solutions, if any, out there are you finding that are being pitched for this?
So when President Trump was in office, he called for the Postal Service to privatize, but some think that that could destroy the institution. Now, the federal government has been a big source for USPS and will probably continue to be. The Postal Service Reform Act was just signed into law and will help with their expenses in a major way. There is now required Medicare integration, which is expected to save the agency $22.6 billion over 10 years. It also eliminates the requirement to pre-fund retiree health benefits for another $27 billion in savings in the next decade. And as we've discussed, Democrats want the agency to increase the number of EVs in their fleet. The Postal Service says they need more funding. Now, there's $6 billion in the Build Back Better Act to help USPS transition to electric, but the moderate Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia opposes the plan, so the Postal Service probably won't get that money.
The Fact Check team will continue to follow developments on this and several other important issues. You can also read this story, links to where they found their information tonight on our website, thenationaldesk.com.
A school system installing crime-fighting gadgets to keep students safe. Still ahead, a look at this new high-tech security system that's designed to call for help within seconds of detecting danger. And sky-high inflation impacting nearly every corner of our economy. How much more the food truck industry is now shelling out to keep us fed. The National Desk's team of reporters bringing you the headlines from coast to coast. We are taking the pulse of America, and we start in Maryland, where Baltimore residents are dealing with a vacant home crisis.
City won't do anything about it. And they know this because I keep calling it in.
Boarded up and on the brink of breaking down, Baltimore has well over 14,000 vacancies. But according to the city's website, this home on Hilson Street has been sitting empty since 1993. Area residents not at all surprised by the structure left abandoned for nearly 30 years, saying dozens of deteriorating homes lining the block have long taken the charm away from this part of Charm City. The home resides in District 9, which is more than double the vacancies of any other location. District 9 Councilman John Bullock describing the ongoing property problem as a complex issue, admitting, quote, demolition is costly and existing funds are insufficient to clear the backlog. Trying to tackle the ongoing crisis, Mayor Brandon Scott recently directing $100 million COVID relief dollars to housing equity in Baltimore, of which $39 million is being dedicated exclusively to taking care of vacant homes. Still, when it comes to homes that have been decaying for decades, Gary Cephas says he wishes the issue was being dealt with in a more timely manner.
But you don't have any hopes that it'll happen anytime soon? Not really.
In Texas, from food to supplies and gas, the expense to operate food trucks going up tremendously due to inflation. A popular barbecue and taco truck in San Antonio says to cut down on costs, they've stationed their truck at a permanent stop.
The food industry is just really slim profit margins, and now it's just gotten extremely difficult to kind of like navigate through all the increasing prices, and not just that, just the product, shortages.
And the truck's owner says costs to run his truck have increased 25 to 30% since the start of the year. In Washington, the state's Department of Fish and Wildlife is on the hunt for a black bear. The 300-pound male has been evading officials for more than 2 years now. A GPS tracking collar on the bear has not fallen off like it's supposed to, so they want to take care of that.
I realized, well, wait, that bear is still out and it's moving slower, and it's got more infective-looking stuff around its neck.
Oh, poor thing. Now, the agency says it will decide how to deal with the collar once they find and capture the bear. Next, our political roundtable, breaking down the hot topics on Capitol Hill this week. A political earthquake warning on the heels of that draft Supreme Court opinion leak.
Welcome back to TND. Our Washington Bureau's correspondents, producers, videographers, and editors are covering Capitol Hill in D.C. every day to report on the important issues facing the country and how they impact you. Two of our correspondents, Scott Thuman and Atra Elnishar, are here with us to share their insights and their analysis. Scott, the leaked draft opinion from the Supreme Court suggesting Roe v. Wade will be overturned, dominating the headlines this week. What's the long-term political fallout?
Well, it might be a little bit of a political earthquake that we're witnessing. And that's because on the left, you see a lot of people who are, of course, pro-choice saying this is their rally cry. This is what's a wake-up call for them to make sure they galvanize, that they get people interested in the next election, because, of course, it's the Senate that controls who are the Supreme Court justices. They want to make sure they retain that Senate number and grow, if possible, to assure themselves that they can dictate what kind of direction the court takes in the future. It's also a fundraising issue. Look, you saw a lot of calls from people both on the left and right immediately say, you have to get involved. We need to donate to this campaign, this political action committee, this candidate, so that we can assure ourselves a future that we're content with when it comes to the political makeup in Washington, D.C. And I think that you're going to see that on both sides, because Republicans are saying, look what we can do. Look what the potential is. Imagine if we only had the House and or Senate, and Democrats saying we have to hold the line. So this is going to be an issue that may have just been a flashpoint, a big one, but a flashpoint in June or July when that ruling would have been handed down. Now it's one from this month all the way perhaps through Election Day.
And Atra, it's hard for some to see how the abortion debate overshadows Americans' concerns about the economy and inflation, especially with the economic data continuing to go in the wrong direction.
Right.
What's the latest?
Yeah, well, we can look at government data all we want, but I think the most transparent reflection of how it's impacting folks at home is naturally polling. We saw some new polls from CNN, SSRS this week that finds 77% of people rate the economy as poor. And how are they adjusting? Well, the majority of Americans, 63%, say that they're adjusting what groceries they're buying. About half say that they're cutting back their driving, all to stay within a budget. Now, we'll learn the new CPI, or the inflation rate that's on an annual basis. We'll learn the new number on Wednesday. But the polls I just mentioned show that regardless of what that number shows us, Americans are feeling the burn right now. On the flip side, on Friday morning, we learned that the job situation remains strong. The unemployment rate was unchanged at 3.6%. That's pretty low, even without considering the fact that we're coming out of a pandemic. But there are also some economists out there who would actually, and this might sound counterintuitive, want to see the unemployment rate go up a little bit. Anything to calm down demand, anything to loosen up this tight labor market and wrangle in that runaway inflation.
Well, and it's interesting because we saw the White House and Joe Biden trying to really spin the unemployment numbers as a positive, saying the economy is stronger than Americans are giving everybody credit for. But Scott, as we approach the general elections, the midterms this fall, we had some primaries last week and got some coming up. As those elections come into focus, what's the battleground looking like?
Yeah, big headlines. First, out of Ohio. So we saw the primary this past week out of Ohio. J.D. Vance, who was tapped, got President Trump's endorsement, was seen as a litmus test. How would he do, and does it show whether or not President Trump still has strength in an endorsement or involving himself in a campaign? He went from about fourth place in March to then winning pretty handily after getting tapped by the former president. So while there are a lot of factors involved, it does show that former President Trump still has a play there. So now we look forward to another one to see if he can create a trend. Is this really an anomaly, or is this going to be a pattern? Pennsylvania coming up, you've got Dr. Oz, the TV celebrity doctor, who also has the support of former President Trump. He's going up against David McCormick, and a lot of people are wondering, is this going to be a trigger so that other campaigns know what they're going against, but also how much they want to fight for President Trump's favor? It is definitely going to be a quandary, though, because if you are on the President Trump's train and you are seen as polarizing or fringe, you may win primaries. You may not have such an easy time during a general election. When you have more centrists, more moderates who are voting, you need to win their favor as well.
A lot to keep an eye on over the next few weeks and months. Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman, National Correspondent Atra Elnishar. Thank you. Eugene, back to you.
And a big thank you to our Capitol Hill team. Still ahead, safety in the classroom. The new technology in a Columbus school that could make the difference between life and death. You're watching the National Desk, America's News Now. Keeping children safe inside the classroom, top of mind right now all across America. A new high-tech security system helps accomplish just that, sending a warning signal to law enforcement and administrators when possible danger is detected. The National Desk, Steve Levine, takes us inside a school in Columbus with a look at how the crime-fighting gadget works.
inside South Columbus Prep Academy at Southfield.
You're finding the pattern? Yeah.
It's all about reading, writing, arithmetic, and safety. We walk the halls with Dr. Chad Carr, Executive VP with Excel Schools, the group that runs South Columbus Prep and more than 70 other charter schools in Ohio. Carr tells us teachers and staff all trained to be on the lookout for suspicious activity in the building.
Most of the problems don't happen in the classroom. It happens in transition, going to the bathroom, going to lunch.
It's the reason why the K-8 school has an in-depth safety plan that includes a security buzz-in system and 18 cameras.
There's a teacher walking right there. We got a student coming right here.
Surveillance in all halls and classrooms.
Anything that gives us an early warning so that we can protect the children that go here, I think it's something we need to do.
This may look like a smoke detector, but it's the newest security gadget designed to warn about violence, including an active shooter.
When an elevated sound is detected, we launch all cameras around.
Stressed voices detected in Nate Green with Prime Secured in Worthington shows us how speakers in the ceiling and sensors notify administrators within seconds about breaking glass and gunshots. Warning staff through speakers and real-time video about a potential suspect. The tiny microphones pick up not just violent gunfire, but yelling and shouting.
Nate, this stops today. This is going to end.
This demonstration shows us when loud, aggressive yelling is in earshot of the tiny sensors.
Seconds save lives in this case, and so if we know where it's at, we can get there very quickly.
Dr. Carr now interested in adding the sensors to the school security network. This network with 25 sensors can cost around $10,000 for an annual subscription service, a big chunk of change for many charter schools like South Columbus Prep.
We operate on a third of the budget as our district neighbors. So we have to pinch every penny.
For schools scraping for cash, we've discovered government money is available. We've discovered there are at least 4 federal and state programs that offer security grants to keep schools safe.
Oftentimes that process can seem a little intimidating, might not know where to start or how to navigate through that system.
Security training company Safe Passage Consulting, based in Columbus, now working with schools to help them cut through the government red tape to get the funding they need.
We don't want them to think that they're just in this alone. We want to be able to get out there and help as many people as we can.
Financial and safety help, schools like South Columbus Prep say, is needed now more than ever to stop the violence.
We just want to make sure it never happens here. That's our main concern. We want to do everything we can to prevent that.
And that's it for this weekend edition of the National Desk, America's News Now. Don't forget you can watch us live weekdays from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. till midnight Eastern Time. You want to check your local listings. You can also watch us online and catch up with the latest headlines on our website, thenationaldesk.com. I'm Eugene Ramirez. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your weekend.